Xin thân ái. Here.
Paul Chaplinsky,
Here.
Michael Del Santo,
Present.
Valerie DiPaolo,
Here.
William Dietzick, Victoria Triano.
And I am here also. Let's all stand for the prayer, followed by our flag salute.
Most Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening to ask for your guidance and your direction as we consider those things that have a direct bearing upon the people of Southington. Keep our focus clear and our conscience clean as we seek your help. Amen.
Amen. Would you join me in the flag salute, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. You may be seated. May I have a motion for the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
Second, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any discussion? Any additions or deletions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you, Paul. Very good. Item 3, councilperson's communication. We're going to start this evening off with a presentation from Jack Eisenman from the United Way. And Jack, would you come forward with your guest and make sure we get everybody's name for the record whenever you're giving a presentation?
Good evening. Chairwoman Triano, thank you for inviting us to attend the meeting and present our new executive director for the United Way of Southington. I'd like to thank all the town councilors, past and present, who have supported us over the years that I've been the executive director, and the town employees as well. Just about everybody in this up here has supported us in one way or another since I've been the executive director. And actually, a special thanks to Chairwoman Triano, as she was on the executive of the United Way of Southington when I was hired. So she had a large hand in me getting hired, and I'm going to retire at the end of the month. And one more thing I would like to acknowledge. Councilwoman Triano's family has been the United Way supporter for years and years and years. Her father was, when he retired from the police force, came on as the president of the United Way of Southington, and her mother worked in the office. So it's a family thing that Councilwoman Triano and her family have supported the United Way of Southington, and we're all in the business of trying to just support those within our community who require some kind of assistance, financial or service-wise. And again, thank you very much. When I retire, Britt Lynch has taken over. Actually, we've worked together. Britt is a former employee of the University of Hartford in the development office, so she has some experience in this type of a business. And I would like to introduce Britt and allow her to say a few words just on her vision for the United Way of Southington going forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jack. Please.
Thank you for having me. First of all, I'm very excited to be working with the United Way. It was kind of unexpected, but I've been loving it so far, and I'm really enjoying getting to meet everyone in the community and learning more about the community I grew up in. There's so much going on that I had no idea about. So one of our largest projects coming up is we'll be embarking on a new strategic plan that we will be formulating as a board in June. It will be pretty short, just like a 2 to 3 year strategic plan, just to get all our ducks in a row as our vision is growing from what it was. Our goal really is to just raise more money so we can help more people and identify the needs in the community on a timely basis so that we can change and make a difference year after year wherever the change is needed. We are still fundraising for this fiscal year. Our fiscal year ends June 30th, so you might hear from us before the end of our fiscal year. And in order to help us meet our goals, we are hosting a brand new event called the Southington Cocktail Competition. Perhaps you've seen our sign on the town green. Actually, an event like this has never been held before. Usually cocktail competitions are between industries and not a community event. But all the funds raised will all be benefiting the 11 agencies that we are supporting this fiscal year. All the money raised in Southington goes to Southington residents, which is really important. So we hope that each of you will be able to join us. It's May 30th at 6:30 at the AquaTurf. Folks over here, you're invited to. And I look forward to meeting many of you in person if we haven't met yet. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome aboard. And you alluded to it, but our United Way is one of the few independent United Ways. We're still independent. Is that correct, Jack? Yes. We're still independent. So as you said, money raised in Southington stays in Southington. And I think it's very, very important because the United Way has always been kind of the hub for other service groups. And so that's very good. Well, welcome aboard. We wish you well. Thank you. Very good. And please come back during your next, when you start your next cycle for fundraising also. Usually the campaign kicks off in September, I believe. So come on back and encourage us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very good. Our second presentation tonight will be from the Friends of Animal Control. There's a group of individuals representing Friends of Animal Control.
Evening.
Councilwoman, I have some
Sure.
Handouts. Thank you for allowing us to speak again this evening. Anne Marie Canati, Sue Zabahansky, and I are some of the board members of the nonprofit Friends of Southington Animal Control. Last June, you generously allowed us to introduce our organization, and we appreciate that. We created this organization to provide assistance to the Southington Animal Control Facility and its residents, the PAW residents, and to support Southington community with education and allocation of resources for the general well-being of all animals in Southington. Last year, we announced the first of our now annual No Bowl Empty Pet Food Drive. We are distributing a sample of a postcard that we will be sending out to members of the community. And over the past year, we collected over 10,000 pounds of food, which we received and forwarded to Southington Community Services for distribution to families in need. Last year's drive was a very tremendous success, and we hope only to surpass that this year. Anyone wishing to make a donation of new unopened pet food can drop their donations off at Southington Animal Control on Woodruff Street. And any monetary donations can be mailed to Friends of Southington Animal Control, care of Animal Control on Woodruff Street. And I thank you again for letting us represent our organization to you, and we appreciate all of your support and assistance in the community. And I would like to pass the mic over to Sue Zabahansky, who has a video presentation, and she will also present our current fundraising project, which is assisting improvements at Animal Control with an Adopt a Door program.
Hi, thank you, members of the council. Susan Zabahansky, 28 Working Street. While Lucas gets our presentation, it's just some video to go along with it. We just want to, we thank you again for reintroducing, allowing us to reintroduce Friends of Southington Animal Control. In the short time that we've been organized, just over a year, we've helped our local shelter raise money to provide Kuranda beds and bed covers for every run that we have at the Animal Control, which is about 28, I believe. Thanks to some new improvements we were recently paved, as you guys can see here. We really appreciate the town support in getting that done. It helps keep the animals cleaner. This is our outside run we have that was totally done through donations from some local community members through the volunteer program, actually. So we have a volunteer program as well. This year, our primary focus is going to be on the indoor run enclosures. Right now, we have currently chain link fencing. This is another outdoor run that we have, and we have two other outdoor runs that were also all done through donations. So we're doing a great job of funding the pound just through community support. So that doesn't put any burden on the taxpayer. Those are the beds, if you can see the one Corinda bed on the right-hand side. They'll last forever, and they have a lifetime warranty on them, so it'll be great. This is inside of the facility, and we're going to go into the kennel in a moment just so that we can see the runs that are currently chain link. The reason we want to improve these doors is chain link, unfortunately, is not the greatest for pets who are stressed. They tend to chew on them. It does get broken down a lot. They damage their mouths, they damage their paws, and sometimes they've even caught themselves underneath the doors when, overnight when there's no one there supervising them. So we're trying to replace those with a full glass panel door, which number one will also cut down on contamination from one kennel to another, because we do get a lot of animals in that have just been kind of abandoned in town. For those who don't know, we get a lot abandoned at the reservoir. And so we are responsible for taking care of them as the town. When we hear about sightings of them, we catch them. So these are the current indoor runs with a chain link. Like I said, dogs, number one, when you have a glass door panel, it's easier to clean and maintain, so sanitation is very important when we have animals come in that we don't know, what illnesses they may have. So we will have a full panel door with a swing-out bowl system, which also helps allow the animals to be fed who might be more of danger to volunteers or to the dog warden, because some of them, can be aggressive, and unfortunately, we still have to take care of them safely. So this will allow them to be kept, number one, the bowls kept off the floor so they don't get, urinated on and such, and keeps them cleaner and helps so that everyone can go in and feed. We're going to come up to one door that's a problem, which we don't use anymore, but the doors at the bottom is where the animals tend to chew them. Our ACO, Carabin, does a great job of trying to keep them fixed himself. Like, he's literally had to take them down and put new fencing on. So you can see some here where the animals can get trapped under. So we're thinking that this will be a great improvement. The total cost of the project for all these to be replaced with glass doors is $38,000. We have raised $10,000. The Pocock Lamb Foundation gave us our generous first donation, so that's a great start. And we're looking just for help from the community, and we do have other grants in place that we're waiting to hear from. One from the Greater New Britain Foundation, the Rotary Club. So, we have multiple avenues to collect, but we are currently looking to offer this also to the community. So for $1,700, you can sponsor a door, which would be an entire kennel run, glass front panel, and the bowl pull out. And we have someone who has generously donated their time to install them. So once we get them in place. These pictures are some of the animals that we have personally as a foundation helped to get vaccinated, health checked. So that is one thing our organization done. This is a dog who was dumped at the reservoir. He actually this is him after being at the pound for a couple of months. We got him healthy, and he now is living happily in Tennessee, which is where that truck is behind him. That's a whiskey brewery truck in Tennessee. So we placed him in a home in Tennessee. The cats are part of a hoarding situation we had in town, and they've all been placed, 31 cats. So we have gotten these animals health checked, which includes a rabies vaccination, heartworm testing for parasites before they go out. So our organization has also raised funds to help do that as well. So is there any questions I can answer for anyone?
Go ahead, Val.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, first, I really would like to thank all of you on this group.
Yeah, and we thank you for organizing. So
Well,
Val did do
yeah,
the paperwork to organize the 501c3.
To get it
Yeah,
going.
we really
So,
appreciate that.
And just so that there's a bit of a history, and I love everybody seeing the enclosures
Mm-hmm.
and everything that's there now. So I coordinate the volunteer program and started it, and when we started, I tried to get it started in 2017. It took almost a year to get it off the ground. None of that was there. There were no enclosures, there was no big enclosure, nothing was paved, there were no beds in the kennels, there were no blankets, no towels, no toys, like nothing. So the volunteer program, we started with just 4 of us. Kitty, you were one, myself and my wife, Michelle, and Susan Fowler. And the police department has been wonderful, slowly bringing it along. And we did a lot, we did all these enclosures and did a ton of work. And then you come forward now and we have this 501c organization that is just it's taken it to the next level. So, and Susan and Anne Marie, Kitty, everybody's, they're also volunteers. So having the volunteer program, having the friends, what you're able to do with getting the dogs, to see what their behavior problems are and helping to get them adopted much earlier, all the work that's being done at the facility. It's just great. So between the volunteer program, the Friends organization, it's just a great partnership. And, I can't thank you enough. Obviously, we're keeping it going.
Yeah. One thing I did fail to mention is that so all of our assistance with the food program and any resources we work in conjunction with community services, so the needs determined there, and all the resources are allocated through, so that we're working in conjunction with community services, so that, number one, it doesn't overwhelm our pound staff, because they already have enough on their plate with all the bears in town and everything else. But it also, it has this program allows people to keep their pets in their homes so that we hopefully have less pets being relinquished because people can't care for them.
Right.
So it's,
Right.
kind of reciprocal.
Yeah, it's really been, Josh Caravan, Kelsey, the ACOs, they work well with us, and it really has been, just to know, Kitty knows, where it was in 2018, to today it's amazing. It really is.
The passion, I think that's one of the things that is first noticeable, is the passion of both groups. The care for the individual animals, which, if you're a dog lover, or a cat lover,
That one too, yeah.
dog lover, but you really appreciate, because they have no one. They're dumped. Many times these animals are just dumped. I can't even imagine doing that. But, and here come Friends of Animal Control and volunteers. They're going to walk him. They're going to make sure he's healthy and well cared for and gets a forever home. It's terrific.
Yep.
So if anybody wants to donate a door, it's $1,700.
Yep, and the doors will be engraved with your
You're a 501c3, which means your donation is tax deductible.
tax deductible, and we will put your
And
name
you're
on
gonna
the
put your
door
name over
engraved
the door.
on the door. So if you want to
Or
do
your
in memory of a
dog's
lost pet
name,
or
or your pet's name,
pet's
right.
name, if you want to do it, or some animal lover in your family.
Council, do you have any questions, anything at all?
Thank you.
I do want to say that the fact that they didn't have blankets and stuff is more for the safety of the dogs, which is why we got the Coranda beds, because the state doesn't allow us to put bedding in the runs. So the Coranda beds were a great addition, because it keeps,
great.
they can be sanitized.
Very good.
And I want to just say one quick thing. I just want to thank the council people and go on the record to thank the police commissioners that helped get the outside of the pound done. We couldn't have gotten the facility done without everybody working together. And it's going to be beautiful when it's done. Everybody worked together, and it's really coming along. And even Mark, we're getting a roof over the back with the roof fund. And without everyone working together, we wouldn't have had that happening.
Wonderful.
And it's going to look really, really nice.
Wonderful.
Thank
Keep
you.
an eye out for your organization at different fundraising
Yep,
opportunities.
we'll be at the drive-in for Halloween, so.
Yes.
Anyone, keep that in mind.
And maybe the Apple Harvest Festival.
Yes.
Oh, yes, we'll be
And-
there.
Maybe the Italian. I don't
We
know. We'll see.
never know.
Thank you so much for coming, and we appreciate it completely. Thank you. Well, all right, thank you very much. Any other councilmatic communications?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I had the opportunity to attend the summit last Thursday. They had a military, they awarded some folks at that were staying at the summit, along with Councilwoman DiPaolo, and Madam Chair was there, and Mr. Chaplinsky. It was just a wonderful event, and it's really great that they're honoring our veterans. The summit does just a fantastic job, so I want to congratulate them, and it was a pleasure and an honor being there for that ceremony. Very, very
Certainly
nice.
was.
Very touching.
Yes, it
Very
was.
touching, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else? Yes, go ahead. Tom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Last week, several of us were in attendance for the Unico Gold Medal Award dinner. A very nice evening, and I want to congratulate Mr. John Leary, the Chairman of the Board of Finance, for a well-deserved honor. He gave an excellent speech along with several others that night. So great job by the Unico group on putting that together.
Very good. Anybody else? Yes.
I have a couple things.
Oh, hang on one second, Paul. I just
It's okay.
recognized. Okay, go ahead, Paul. You go
Just 'cause
ahead.
he's on the phone.
Go ahead, Paul. Yep, go ahead.
Thanks, Madam Chair, in addition to attending the Unico and also the summit event where we recognize our veterans. I also had the opportunity to attend with you, Madam Chair, the Nurses Week flag raising last week at Hartford Healthcare at the Bradley campus, where Gary Hallakan and some of the leaders there, as well as a bunch of nursing staff members, recognized our local nurses in Hartford Healthcare and throughout the community of Southington with a beautiful flag raising ceremony. So we thank our nurses and all of our first responders.
Thank you so much. Chris?
Following up on Unico, just a shout out to Unico Rotary and Lions Club. They worked in collaboration this Saturday to prepare 16,000 meals that will be shipped to families in Ukraine. So it's great seeing 3 service groups come together for that. I had the pleasure to attend the scholarship night for graduating seniors at Southington High School. That was last Thursday, May 18th. Fantastic job by the administration putting that night together for all the kids. Special shout out to our Town of Southington scholarship winners for the Apple Harvest Festival Scholarship, Sophia LeBlanc and Sophia Shasha. So they were recognized along with many of their peers that evening. I just want to thank as we know at our last meeting, we finished our budget deliberations. Just want to give a shout out to the Board of Education for organizing a budget workshop. It's a little different this year compared to past years with the budget, so I think that was important for the process to play out and let the public be a part of that. So they had that budget workshop last week, and I just want to thank the Board of Ed for putting that on. And then finally, if anyone's interested, the LEAF, which is another great organization in town, is offering several CSAs. The first one is their spring Jumpstart CSA that starts this week, May 23rd. And then they're also kicking off their 18-week summer CSA, which starts June 13th and runs till October 14th. So if you're interested, it's just leafct.com. You can go online and register for any of those CSAs.
Very good. Val?
Ma'am, just one. So I just wanted to report on the, both the DECA and the FBLA clubs up at the high school. Both of them had tremendous successful years. This year, DECA at their state convention, and then at their international convention, all the students did great. FBLA, I believe, did really well at their state convention, and they have 10 to 12 students that qualified for their national conference, which is at the end of June. So they'll be attending that. You know, they just do consistently every year, and the DECA store, they just keep adding merchandise and, Southington apparel. So for the students that take part in DECA and FBLA, they just do a tremendous job every year. So just a big congrats to not only the students, but the administration for the advisors, the teachers in all the business classes. They really do a great job.
Great. Anything else, Councilman DiPaolo?
No, that's good.
Madam Chair, just to add to, my son's in DECA, Max, my
Oh,
son
good,
Max.
is he?
And he works in the school store.
Oh,
And that
good.
school store opened when I was, I think, a junior. So I worked, we sold combos, the first time you just saw combos, little crackers.
Right.
And Snapple.
No, it's
And
huge.
it's so great, yeah, it's so great when he comes home, he says, I worked the store today, and he worked the cash register, so it just brings it all home.
Yeah.
30 years later, 35
It's
years later.
crazy, it's crazy.
great.
And the
Yeah, they do-
apparel
they
is
do a
really
phenomenal
nice.
job.
Yeah, they really
Very nice, good stuff.
I would just like to mention that Councilwoman DiPaolo and I were at the Land Trust 50th anniversary, and it was quite a night, wasn't it, Val? It was just so exciting. We had an opportunity to present a proclamation noting their 50th anniversary, and it's a wonderful organization. They take their role very seriously about preservation of our land and our wildlife, and it was just a great honor to be there. I also want to mention one other thing. A couple of days ago now, there was a terrible accident on Ragged Mountain. A hiker fell, I think, around 40 feet, was that? I think it was around 40 feet. And, of course, it was very serious, but I do want to mention our fire department. They got there within 8 minutes, and they were lending aid immediately. The person was transported via Lifestar. I don't have any update on the condition of the person, but it was an extremely serious situation, and I want to just give kudos to the fire department and all of those that have worked and trained so much in rescue on mountain ledges and what have you. They did a phenomenal job. So I just wanted to say that for our fire department. Is there anything else? Okay, okay.
One additional thing. Madam
Okay.
Chair. Just a reminder for the public that the Memorial Day Parade will be kicking off on Monday, May 29th, put on by the American Legion. It will kick off from the lower parking lot at Darrenowski Elementary School at 10:30 a.m. And the council received that invitation a couple of weeks ago.
And the actual ceremony starts at 11 o'clock in front of the Kiltonic Post 72. Yep,
Thank
very
you.
good. Okay.
Madam
let-
Chair?
Yes.
Would I be able to say something?
Yeah.
Thank you. I wasn't going to say anything, but you mentioned the firefighters, and I agree that we have an amazing fire department. I don't know if you saw some of the posts on social media that the local posted about a busy, I think it was 24, 48 hours that our fire department had, and them having some concerns. So I don't know if the council could maybe have, the chair of the fire commission come and talk to us about some of those concerns. I know that their personnel matters, but at the same time, it's the safety. And it's kind of concerning when you have our fire department stating that there's concerns, or, the staff. And I think that, again, it's personnel issues, but I know that there's a master plan, and I just want to make sure that, we're talking about it. And, we're, as a council, supporting our fire department as much as we possibly can. So I don't know if you saw that post on social media. or
I did
but-
not see that post, but I do believe that we are right now in arbitration. So I would be very, very careful about doing anything.
Yeah, you wouldn't do anything
Process.
publicly or at this point anyway, in
Yeah.
executive session.
Right,
It would be arbitration, and
Yeah.
obviously that'll take months and months.
Yeah.
How about the master plan that was done? Could we discuss any of that?
That's public.
Not during arbitration, I wouldn't do anything like
Okay.
that.
So, but I think your point is well taken, and I think that everyone on this council are strong supporters of our fire department as well as our police department. And so, even though it's inappropriate for us to speak about it during arbitration, at least the point was very well taken. Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Okay, hearing no other comments, let's move right on to reports of special committee. Apple Harvest Festival.
Chris, please.
Sure. We had a brief meeting last week, Tom and I, and just a few updates for everyone. So far, we have $8,000, a little over $8,000 paid for sponsorships. We're looking at commitments for sponsorships of almost $50,000. So it's a great progress so far for us. And our financial report, we're pretty much pretty much right on track, no real expenses to this point. And finally, to any families of going to be students at the high school that are going to be either juniors or seniors, we're looking right now for ambassadors. So these are students that assist us, volunteering their times during the festival itself. So if any incoming junior or senior at any high school, not just Southington High School, is interested, you can go on the Apple Harvest website and get some information. It's also available at Southington High School as well.
Thank you. Very good. Would you like to add anything?
Yes, please. Thank you, Chris. And two other things that we did discuss was that we agreed to move forward with Berkshire, which has been our fireworks vendor for years. They held the same price as last year, and they've done a great job for us, so we did discuss that. The other thing that was interesting and important to note was that we had a discussion about French fries. So we, as a committee, try to, we maintain a position that our nonprofit groups that sell certain items, we try to avoid having other booths sell the same product to create competition there. So we established that the Rotary booth, who's been selling the French fries for a long time, will be the only seller of French fries this year. And that includes all specialty type French fries with toppings and things like that. So that was probably more entertaining topic that we've had at that committee.
I'm sure the Rotary Club is very happy to hear that.
Yep.
Very important stuff. Anything else, Tom?
That's it, thank you.
Okay. Any questions or anything? Let's move on. I can't top the French fries. The Sewer Committee.
It's hard to follow up on French fries.
I know.
With sewer committee. Okay. Yeah. So we had a meeting on May 11th. The Plantsville pump station is substantially completed. We're just looking at punch list items, and that should come in under budget, which is really good. The West Queen Street pump station is tracking as it should be. Substantial completion is by June 30th, and that should be under budget as well. We do have an item on our agenda tonight, the phosphorus metering system project. The subcommittee approved that, would recommend that. And I'm trying to think of what else that we did. That really was it. It was a pretty quick meeting. Yeah, thank you.
Bill is not able to be with us this evening, so I'm sure he appreciates that report. Let's move on to Strike Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had our meeting on the 16th of May. I'm going to try to get through this because I have French fries on the brain now.
That's right.
Starving here. So the strike committee initiated the strike committee because the landowner on the corner of West Queen Street and West Street was requesting the 100% tax abatement for costs associated with the road and drainage for an industrial development. So the strike committee heard the presentation and sent back a favorable recommendation to allow the 100% tax abatement. It's got to go to Public Works before it comes to to the council level here. So we're shooting for our next meeting of June.
7th, first Wednesday in June.
First Wednesday is Public Works, and then hopefully, depending on what happens
12th is
there,
your next meeting.
it could be the 12th for our next meeting.
Very good.
So any questions? I know Councilman Perry was there, and we all supported, the members that were there supported the tax abatement.
Very good. Any questions? Let's just move on. Library Building Committee. Jim?
Thanks, Madam Chair. We had a meeting last Wednesday, the 17th. It was also a brief meeting. We were informed that all the bids are posted and out, and they're expected back on the 24th. And we'll likely have a special meeting on the 28th to discuss the results. So we should know by the end of next month if we're under budget, over budget, or where we stand.
Will the 28th be an open meeting?
Yes,
Very good.
well, it'll be posted.
Very good. Anything else, Jim?
Nope, that's it.
Anybody have any questions of the Building Committee? Okay, let's just move on. Thank you, everyone. Let's move on to item 5, Town Manager's Report.
Good evening, Madam Chair. The first item I have is the Board of Finance minutes. There's 3 items I wish you to take a look at. Section 5, which is the mill rate. As you know, annually, the Board of Finance is required to set the mill rate. They set the mill rate based upon your approved budget. So the new mill rate going into effect on July 1st is 30.36. The second one is actually more important to me than anybody else, but we got a clean audit. Every year, you know, the town of Southington is required by federal law and state law to get an audit by an independent auditor, and both Mr. Bose and I got clean reports, so we're proud of that. And then last but not least, the last part of your budget, as you recall, you approved the capital budget at your last meeting, and the budget reallocation funds were approved by the Board of Finance for to fund the amounts in the capital budget for reallocation money. So that was approved also. Happy to answer any questions you have on the Board of Finance.
Anyone? Yeah?
Madam
Val?
Chair, just a quick question. Mark, on page 4, the middle paragraph where it talks about this financial management software system with the Board of Ed in the town, it says smaller governmental funds. Can you just explain that?
I'm sorry, where are you talking
So
about?
page 4,
Yep.
where
Third
it talks about it's the third paragraph.
Yep.
Talks about, it's not, it's just area for improvement.
Yeah, the auditor always puts in things that we could possibly take a look at, and she's talking about possibly using some software, new management software, which Jim Bose and Jennifer Mell would have to take a look at. But it was not something that was required, but that's something one of her many things she said for best practice you might want to take a look at.
Moving
so.
forward, because it sounds like that was something from last year. too.
Yeah, it was actually ending last year, and they continued it through this year.
So is it something that we would look at?
I know Mr. Bose and Jennifer will take a look at it, and where they recommend it to Steve and I, that's up to them.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Anyone else have any questions about? No? Okay, very good. Go ahead, Mark.
The next item I have is the recommendations for the emergency management services. As you know, Madam Chair, you serve on that particular board. Our EMS committee, back in February, with my office, we discussed going out for an RFP because our contract with AMR expires this June 30th. We all felt that, at least I felt, that it was something of an expertise that we needed to bring a consultant on for, which we did bring a consultant on, which Mr. Pearl will introduce in a second. But the consultant did take the case and did very good work for us. And I know that the MS committee had a meeting last week, so our acting EMS chair, Mr. Perillo, will give the report on that. Mr. Perillo.
Thank you. Again, Lou Perillo, the acting chair of the EMS committee. A few months ago, we went out to bid with the expertise of Bob Holdsworth of the Holdsworth Group, who's here this evening for us to help us analyze and go out to bid. With the contract being up, we wanted to try to do a few things. One of the things that we felt was most important to the residents of Southington was try to procure more ambulance service time. Our current contract allows for 2 full-time ambulances with a third ambulance Monday through Friday from the hours of 12 to 8 o'clock. Given the geographical dimensions of our town, the size and the population, we feel that having 3 ambulances would better serve our community residents. 3 ambulances, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So that's where we went with the bidding process, and with Mr. Holdsworth's assistance, we were able to do that. So we went out to bid, we did receive 2 bids, and the details of the contract I'll allow the consultant to comment on, but it was our hope to get more ambulance service time. And I think with this contract and with the committee's recommendation, I think you will see that. There's some details in there that he will explain, but you know, that was the gist of it. It's for the most part. All right, and any questions, Mr. Holdsworth?
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, Dave.
My name is Bob Holdsworth. I'm the president of the Holdsworth Group. We are a Connecticut-based national consulting firm in the EMS industry, and we've been working with the town manager's office and the EMS committee for about 4 months now, looking at reports from the current vendor, which is AMR, looking at the contract that's in place, and looking to craft an RFP, which was issued in March, as Lou said, we were looking to increase the number of ambulances in the community. We had 4 interested parties. We had 3 parties who asked questions and were answered, all in April. And we ended up with 2 bidders. We ended up with AMR, the current vendor, and we ended up with Hartford Healthcare Hunter's Ambulance as the second one. In your packet, I believe you have a memo written by me. I'm going to go through that to answer any questions that you have, and also for anyone who has not had the opportunity to see the memo. So we looked at the reports for 3 years from AMR and looked at the call volumes, so we had a good idea of what those volumes were. It's interesting. First of all, we're having this discussion during EMS week, by the way. This is National EMS week. So we talked about police and fire, so if you see your first responders in the ambulances, say thank you to them this week as well. There's approximately 6,800 calls in town. Those are requests for service. They don't result in transportation, each and every one of them. Many of them are lift assists, people refuse care, standbys for fire and police emergencies, things along those lines, and just patients who decide they want somebody to check on them and then they don't wish to be transported. So there's about 4,800 transports in the year. We looked at the payer mix as far as who's calling the ambulance, Medicare, Medicaid patients, and private pay patients. And if you have an interest in that, I will share it with you. In looking at the statistics, approximately 56% of the patients that are transported are Medicare patients, so they have Medicare as their primary insurance. About 21% are Medicaid patients. 16% are private insurance, and about 7% are self-pay or did not provide insurance to the provider at the time. Fairly standard across the board. So 77% are discounted payers for as far as the ambulance is concerned. Something you need to understand when we look at what we can expect from the ambulance vendor and how the patients, who they're picking up and how they'll be billed and things like that, which was one of the issues in the RFP. We specifically asked each vendor to explain how they would handle billing, what their rates were, so we had a good idea of what their process was for the residents. We then crafted a proposal, and we asked for, as Lou said, right now you have 2 ambulances, paramedic level ambulances, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you have a third from noon to 8, Monday through Friday. We increased the ask in the RFP for 3 paramedic level ambulances, 24 hours a day, to be staffed. When the bid went out in March, we had 4 interested parties, 3 asked questions, 2 eventually ended up submitting proposals. The EMS committee looked at the proposals, the town manager's team looked at the proposals, and my team looked at the proposals, independent of each other. And we all came to the same conclusion, which I'll explain to you in a minute. So we asked for those in the specifications, and we also asked for significant improvement in the reporting criteria so that the EMS committee could, in fact, have a better understanding and a better handle on the system. Because the reports that are coming in are good, but they could be much better and more precise. So we asked for that, and that was answered by both, that they would do that. In looking at them, AMR, your current vendor, submitted 3 options. The first option matched the RFP exactly. Now, between both of them, there were a few discrepancies, few things that were not answered as clearly as we would have liked them, but there was nothing substantive about those minor deficiencies between the 2 that made a difference in the decision process. They were just there. So option 1 from AMR, which is on the second page of the memo that I gave to you, matched the RFP exactly, offered a 3-year subsidy. It went up each year, but the total for the 3-year period was $2.6 million of a subsidy from the town. The second option was the exact system that we described that you have now. So the 2 ambulances and the 1, that was offered at 0 cost. And the third option was to provide 3 ambulances, 2 paramedic, the noon to 8 at a paramedic level, and the remaining hours would be at a basic life support level. So you would have 3 ambulances in town, you wouldn't have 3 paramedic ambulances in town for the 24 hours a day. That was a 3-year subsidy of $1.6 million. The second respondent was Hartford Healthcare, who now owns Hunter's Ambulance. So it was Hunter's Ambulance through Hartford Healthcare. They matched the RFP exactly, 3 paramedic ambulances, 24 hours a day, at 0 cost. There were 2 options in the contract, options years 4 and 5. This is one of the things that was different about them. Years 4 and 5 from AMR was a total subsidy from each, combined for those years of $1.15 million. Hartford Healthcare did not. They declined to bid on years 4 and 5 with just a to be determined. Not unrealistic given the economy that's in the ambulance industry, and they were option years. So we did not take that as a disqualifying event. So the analysis was basically both respondents are substantively equal. AMR is a national firm. Their Waterbury division, which covers here, has approximately the same amount of ambulances that Hartford Healthcare's Hunter's division has. Backup ambulances come from Plainville and come from Waterbury on the AMR side. Backup ambulances would be coming from the Hunter's base on Main Street in Meriden and also from Berlin. So again, contiguous and close. Didn't really come down to making much of a difference between which provider. The real issue came down to the fact that in asking for 3 ambulances, both offered them, the difference is $2.6 million. So I think you don't read ahead now. We know how this comes out. But when we're looking at basically 2 competent providers that can each offer the services, one has bid $2.6 million, one has bid 0. Our firm felt, I believe the town manager's team felt, and I believe the EMS committee's team felt that 0 was a much better obligation than $2.6 million. So the EMS committee, when we met, AMR did attend that meeting. They did not modify anything along the way. They let it stand as it was. And the EMS committee voted with 1 abstention, I believe, to recommend to you that Hartford Healthcare be offered the contract. I'm happy to answer any questions that any of you may have about the process, the industry, what have you.
Thank you, Bob. It's very informative. Your report was quite good. And just for the
Appreciate that.
record, I am the abstention. I am a consultant for pastoral care with Southington Care Center, which is a Hartford Healthcare facility. So let's just open it up. Anyone have any questions of our consultant? I think it's very important. to
One
get
other
that
point I
out.
would like to make, both of the respondents would provide a base of operations in town. One, AMR has their base already, and Hartford Healthcare proposed having the ambulances come from the hospital or stationed as necessary around town. So again, an equality issue. They're both coming from town with backup from contiguous towns. Thank you for that.
Yep. Go ahead, Mike.
Madam Chair, you just, Mr. Holtzman, you said that you have some factual information. Can you send that to us? Maybe send it to the chair? Or you'd said something about the amount of calls per year and the 4,800.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so so I'd like to see that report.
Yeah, it's a couple of pages.
Okay, great.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Actually, the data, the data that's there is actually in the RFP that was issued.
Okay.
So that background information was distilled into that number.
Okay.
The rest of the reports are all provided to Mr. Perillo's office on a monthly basis. So those reports are already in the custody of the town of
Great,
Southington.
thank you.
So,
Yep.
Madam
Tom?
Chair. Thank you. Thank you, Bob, for the presentation.
You're welcome.
And I also want to thank the EMS committee and the town manager's office for, using the consultant in this case as a specialty. The memo that was provided to all of us was very detailed. I found it very easy to read. And I asked that any motion that be made later on in the meeting, that we submit this memo with tonight's meeting minutes. quick, easy question. When you reference the $2.6 million that's referenced in option one from AMR, does that mean a total from the 3 years is
Yes.
2.6 million? Okay,
Yes.
I want to make sure that that's clear. So it's $2.6 million for 3 years.
Correct.
And then these are 3-year contracts, so there's nothing that restricts a future council from doing the same process in 3 years or at a future date.
Correct. And to how we got to the $2.6 million from the RFP, and I'm looking right at it here on my screen. First year was 860, second year was 885.8. The third year was 912,375 aggregate. So it was rounded, I rounded it to
Yep.
2.6.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all I had. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Sure. So I just wanted to, I'm on the EMS committee as well. I just was not able to be at that meeting. I did review the RFPs. I spoke with Lou. So in the contract that we will, it sounds like you would help our manager
Yes.
to do that. Are years 4 and 5, is it silent on that, the contract, or will there be language in the contract?
The years 4 and 5, the options will be there. There will not be a price associated with it.
It will just be to be determined.
Which
price.
the current contract that is expiring had those options as
Same-
well.
Same thing?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Oh, thank you.
Just a comment. First of all, I want to thank you for your work with this. I think you were very eloquent in the way you said it. So I'd like to thank AMR for the medical services they have provided for our community for all these years. I think they've always taken good care of our residents.
They have.
With the service they provided. So I think you were very eloquent in the way you described that. But I'm also very optimistic about our new partnership with Hartford Healthcare. Gary, thank you for being here, and leadership from Hartford Healthcare. We appreciate it. One of the things I think back to over the years, we've had conversations sometimes about a gem in our community, which is Bradley Hospital, especially the emergency department. And I remember having meetings with you, just even talking about the paramedics making judgment calls on whether or not they should be transported to Bradley or not. So I'm really optimistic with this new partnership that we can fine tune that, because you always great in working with us in collaboration with AMR. Now it's even easier to work in collaboration with Hartford Healthcare. So looking forward to the new partnership.
Anyone else? Yep.
Madam Chair, thank you. I want to thank this presentation. It's been perfect. It dotted a lot of i's, crossed a lot of t's. I just have some questions, and you may not have the answers because it's currently with AMR. How long has it been 2 ambulances in our town? Do you know that?
The contract that's in place, the last contract for 5 years has had that in there. The noon to 8 was adjusted 2 years ago, 3 years ago? I think 3 years ago.
At least, because
Maybe
I've been on
longer.
the committee for about.
Yeah.
only
The half
3
ambulance
years.
has been in
And was
town
there
longer than
before.
3 years.
Yeah.
And then when it came to the bids, it stated, you stated that there was 4 potential bidders. Did you get any feedback from the other 2 that did not bid?
One asked some questions, they were answered, and the way that I structured the answers is that we aggregated all of the questions, all of the answered, issued one document through the town manager's office for all bidders through the website, so that everybody had the information on the same day at the same time. There has been no feedback. To my knowledge, there has been no feedback or requests even for the RFPs by other vendors or other people.
Okay. And then last question I have, town of our size, what is your professional opinion? Is 3 enough based on our growth? Lou, you're obviously our economic developers as well. So I'm just, our town has obviously grown. We hear, from police, fire, and EMS that, we're blessed and cursed with 84 and 691. There's accidents all the time. So again, with our demographics of our community, is 3 ambulances enough? Because again, you hear sometimes, I think it was a few weeks ago, there was a backlog of, getting attention or care out to some accidents. So with our town that's growing and what we have, is 3 the right number? Or should we start, again, it can't happen overnight. This is great progress. We're adding an extra ambulance, but should we, as a council, start thinking, when the next renewal is, should it be 4 potentially, or 3.5?
Actually, the reason that we asked for the more robust reporting is so that on a month-by-month basis, we can run aggregated data to figure out response times, call volumes. We could map things differently. There is no community that is going to be able to, with its resources, going to be able to cover every single call. This town is no different than other towns. I used to run ambulance services in the city of Hartford and also down in the New London area. There's a mutual aid system in place for a reason. We made each of the vendors identify who their mutual aid partners were, but it is not at all uncommon for 3 ambulances to be busy and there be a need for more ambulances. 3, 4, 5. The reason that the protocols are in place for the fire department to begin responding in the case where we call system overload. So when 3 ambulances are on a call in an hour, the fire department begins responding to life threats so that the treatment begins while another ambulance is secured from wherever is the best location to secure it from. Also, if there was a disaster in town, the regional communication center would put out an all-call, and there'd be ambulances coming from a multitude of partners. So right now, I think 3 is enough. There are times you're going to need 4 and 5, absolutely, that's normal. But the robust reporting that we've asked for will allow you to monthly, quarterly, and I urge you to take a look at it monthly, but aggregate it quarterly, because that's enough of a time frame so there's not an anomaly that you're making decisions on. But you'll be in a much better position when this comes up next time to have able to do ongoing analysis.
Perfect, thank you.
If I may.
Anyone else?
If I may respond.
Oh, of course.
We already have with AMR the opportunity to try to see where the 3rd ambulance is most valuable use. So we have done reports. Sometimes it's between 11:30, to the 8 o'clock. So we maintained it at the 12 to 8 o'clock. We do look at the reports. I think it would be nice to have more than 3, but I don't think it's practical. You have to think of a region. And they have services in place for system overload. So from Plainville or when we have to go somewhere else. But you bring up the point of I-84. And when there is an accident on I-84, it can tie up an ambulance or 2 or more. So that was one of the things where we were striving to help our citizens out the most with the 3 ambulances 24/7.
Perfect, thank you.
Lou, thank you very much for all of your help on this as well, Mark, of course, and the rest of the team. Yes, go ahead, Jim.
I've heard a lot of complaints about aggregate response time, and I understand the whole concept of 2 ambulances go out of town, a 3rd one comes from somewhere, it gets tied up, they get lost. I don't think this issue is so much about dollars and dollars. I think it's a whole lot more about how we're going to get better down the road, number one. And I would argue that AMR, being a national organization, would have a deeper bench than Hartford Health, and no offense. Again, these are things that I think we need to discuss. We have had many situations in town where we've had no coverage for quite a long time. And I think that just can't happen. And again, the reporting doesn't show you that because it's not really accurate. So that reporting does need to get accurate. Another thing that I think is really important for anybody that's successful is a plan to train, retain, and keep paramedics and ambulance personnel. I've heard from a number of people that the reason why we don't have coverage is that AMR can't keep people. They can't pay paramedics, they can't get them, or they're tied up with the cars. So I don't think the vehicles are the issue, I think it's the personnel. And so on that line, I would like to know what Hartford Health does to cultivate and retain paramedics and EMTs, for that matter. I think that's really important to the future of the response in town.
In the RFP responses, both vendors talked about what it is that they're doing with personnel and bringing personnel in. They also talked about where other ambulances would come from, depth at the bench to go. If you look at the division size, the Hunters Division of Hartford Healthcare and the Waterbury Division of AMR, they're virtually the same. I think there's 1 ambulance difference. So.
Yeah, like I said, I think, I've heard, I don't know for a fact, but I've heard that they have the cars, but they can't send them out because they don't have personnel.
The issue in the state of Connecticut and nationally is that there is a shortage of personnel.
Yeah.
In the last 10 to 11 years, more than 7,000 people have let their certifications lapse, both EMTs and paramedics, here in the state of Connecticut. So, and the pandemic did not help replace people fast enough through training programs, which were put on hold. So what's happening right now is that wages are going up, retentions are going up. Some of the ambulance services are aggregating with each other, consolidating with each other for economic reasons as well as personnel and staffing reasons. So all of those things are happening. It becomes a very challenging time to run an ambulance service at this point. But I think both vendors are doing the best that they can. What it really came down to for me and our firm, and what it came down to, I believe, for the town manager and the EMS committee, was with both firms basically about the same size, doing about the same job, offering the same exact service. It came down to the taxpayers.
Well, I understand, but I personally don't think that we're getting good service right now. So I'm the only guy up here that will tell you that I think the average response times are pale, really bad. And I'd like to see that change, and I think we're ready for a change, by the way. And I just think that whoever takes this contract over needs to have a solid plan on how they're going to have cars available and qualified personnel on the payroll ready to work. And I understand that there are I'm also on the board of ARC, and we can't keep people to take care of special needs people. We can't, the state pays more than we can pay them.
Right.
So I understand totally, and I understand that paramedics don't make much money, and they have to do all kinds of work and training. But again, if this is going to go up for bid and come out, I think that the town needs to come ahead and be better off in the future. So I'm just saying it doesn't matter who it is, and I'm not being critical. I want to see somebody come forward and say, this is what we're going to do to make sure that when we have an accident in 84 and an accident in 691, somebody's coming from somewhere to cover. And it's not going to take them a half hour to get to someone's house that's having a heart attack.
Right.
So this is the issue that we've had for quite a while in town.
To address that for you, the response times, there have been some issues. Aggregately, they have not been as bad as you might think. There are isolated incidents. However, contract compliance has been a roller coaster.
Well, and again, on that line, listen, I understand. You could be within 5 minutes on every call. But if it's my grandmother that takes a half an hour, I'm not going to be happy.
100% agree with you. The two things were, the contract specifies response times for both priority calls and for routine calls. They come through 911. The reporting that we talked about will help make sure that the compliance is there and we can address them.
And I also think it's very hard to enforce that, by the way, too. So again, I'm all for the monthly reports and feedback and communication, but I really think a solid plan needs to be in place.
Agreed.
Oh.
Tom?
I have one final question. I think it's more directed to the town manager and the town attorney versus the consultant and the EMS committee. I just wanted to inquire if the contract that we have with the consultant here, the Holdsworth Group, does this end once a new contract? Can you just talk about what the contract looks like? Are we cutting off services after we?
No.
Okay.
I currently have.
And sorry, let me expand on that. And I say that because Councilman Morelli brought up some points and issues that maybe concern our citizens that would be good to address in the future.
Well, the EMS committee does exactly what Mr.
Right.
Morelli was talking about. They do that on a monthly basis. But that being said, our consultant is still with us and still stay with us because I still have him on retainer for a few more hours anyway, and probably a few more after that, because any motion you make tonight has to be subject to successful contract negotiations. So therefore, Bob, myself, and Alex will be working with whoever you choose to do the new contract. And then, depending on if it goes any further, we may have more action after that. But
Gotcha.
when
Thank
you talk about specific things like plans put in place and all that, the EMS committee does that. They have it with them. If it's a new consultant, if you vote on a new consultant, then the EMS committee would work closely with the new consultant to put all that stuff in place.
Thank you.
All right, I think we've heard so much, and thank you very, very much for everything. Bob, thank you so much. Just as an afterthought, I do want to just say that Mr. Havicon will no longer be called Mr. He now has received his doctorate. So,
Oh.
sorry, Gary, I had to do it, you know what I'm saying. So, all right, let's move on. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. We're moving on to item C.
Tax abatement.
The
Mr.
tax
Mr.
abatement.
Pearl will step right back up again. This is the one we came to the council before for a pre-look. It has now gone to the seed committee, and Mr. Pearl will report on it.
Thank you. Lou Perillo, Town's Economic Development Director. This evening, we have a tax abatement. It's a commercial abatement for 7 years for a hotel that wants to come in at 95 John Waxell Crossing. The owner of, or the new developer, Mahavir Patel, wants to put in a 48,000 square foot hotel, 4 stories high, excuse me, approximately 50 feet. He just received a variance from our ZBA last week. So basically, he wants to invest between 10 and 12 million in our town, employ between 12 and 20 people, and he's looking for this commercial tax abatement for his real property tax. Additionally, he's agreed to work with our engineering staff to try to provide some parking for the Rails to Trails program on his site as well. I'm here to answer any questions you have.
Any questions? Thank
And-
you, Lou.
And the seed committee recommended unanimously just for the council to approve the abatement. Thank you.
The next item, Madam Chair, was brought up already by the sewer committee. Val brought up in her report. This is for the phosphorus metering system. The recommendation both of the consultant, Ty and Bond, and the sewer committee is C.H. Nickerson and Company for the sum of $196,404. And I would say I'd be happy to answer any questions, but if there's any questions, I'm going to steer them back to Val. Any questions on that?
No questions on that.
The
Nobody
ne-
wants
the
to-
nec- the next item is Phase 2 of the municipal center improvements. Last time you did the Phase 1, which is all done with the budget reallocation monies and was approved by this board last meeting at the capital budget. If you remember correctly, the furnace room has been completed. It's been remediated. The furnaces are no longer there. They're putting for temporary space for storage, and now this is the improvements to both the planning and the engineering division. Happy to answer any questions you have on that.
Anything?
Freddie's gone. The number is $143,484, and it's done through the EasyIQ system, and then the company is Millennium. Madam Chair, I do have executive session tonight with Attorney Sheffy, who I think I just saw in the room, put my glasses. Tony's back there. We have 2 items on for that, and there will be no action outside of executive session.
Very good, thank you so much. Our town attorney's report, wow.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good afternoon.
He works full days now, he's all confused. Private lawyer, he's.
Until he's got a baby.
Yeah.
I met with Town Attorney Lou Martascio a few hours ago, and he reiterated nothing to report back to the full council today.
Very good. Let's open up our meeting for public communication. Any member of the public is very welcome to come, give your name and address, and we're here to listen to you for 5 minutes. And you have the mic. Anyone wishing to go forward? Once. Anyone else? No? Last call. Public communication.
Chair, stop begging.
We're gonna close public communication. Thank you all. All right, let's move. Item 8, old business, action on the report of the Board of Finance.
Motion to approve?
Second, Madam Chair?
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you all. Item B, action on recommendation for emergency ambulance services, RFP.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Tom.
I'd like to make a motion to move forward with the Hartford Healthcare Hunters proposal as presented in our package this evening and pursue the next steps.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further?
Hold on. I'm sorry, you don't have a vice chair, so.
Sure.
Could you take this?
Oh,
Yeah, could you take
yes.
this? You're going to abstain, you shouldn't be chair on it.
Yes,
Sure.
okay.
Okay, so I'll ask for a motion.
Yeah, that's right.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tommy's going to do it if you don't mind. Go ahead.
Sure. Can I have a motion for? All right.
Motion to approve as stated.
Can I have
House.
can I have a motion for action, item number B, action on recommendation for emergency ambulance service RFP?
Yes.
And I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Councilman Morelli and
I would
Councilman
just add,
Palmieri.
Subject to successful contract negotiation.
Correct.
So moved, so amended.
Town Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Lombardi,
Yes.
Morelli,
Yes.
Palmieri,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Chaplinsky,
Yes.
Del Santo,
Yes.
DiPaolo,
Yes?
and Triano.
One abstention.
Turn the chair back.
All right, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Let's move on. Action on the tax abatement for Carm Properties, 95 John Weichsel Crossing.
Madam Chair, motion to approve this tax abatement for current properties.
Do I have a second?
Second, Madam Chair.
Jim seconded. Any discussion on it? Hearing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Lombardi,
Yes.
Morelli,
Yes.
Palmieri,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Chaplinsky,
Yes.
Del Santo,
Yes.
DiPaolo,
Abstain?
Triano.
Yes. Action on the phosphorus metering system project bid recommendation.
Madam Chair, I'll make that motion that we go forward with the bid to C.H. Nickerson and Company.
Do I have a second?
Second, Madam Chair.
Very good. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, please call the roll, Madam Clerk.
Lombardi,
Yes.
Morelli,
Yes.
Palmieri,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Chaplinsky,
Yes.
Del Santo,
Yes.
DiPaolo,
Yes?
Triano.
Yes. Action on the recommendation for the Building and Planning Department renovation.
I'll
Madam
make-
Chair, I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'll second.
Very good. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any,
Aye.
one not in favor of it? Hearing none, the motion carries. And action on the procurement review. All of you received on the town council the letter that I wrote to you concerning the exploratory review that will be done. The individuals serving on that committee will be Mike Del Santo, Jack Perry, Attorney Riccadone, Annette Turnquist, Chiari Williams, Jim Grappone, Jim Bowes, and Jennifer Mellett. Ex officio members Mark Shota and Jay Baker. The following charge I have written up. This group will review our current policies and practices and compare Southington to other similar municipalities to gain insight into new methods of improvement. It is hoped that these new considerations will help us streamline our current protocol, making our process more efficient for staff and those who wish to enter a bid. It is asked that this group will also review best practices being currently used elsewhere that might be incorporated into our process to save time, money, and money for the town as well as for the bidder. Also, please review the current software and investigate perhaps new and better software programs that would help expedite our current bidding process. And I thanked everyone for volunteering to be on this committee. I'm going to enter that in. Now, Mark, do we have to vote on this?
No, you're a chair, you can set up your own committee.
Okay,
But what I want to do is I just told our.
I have a question, Madam Chair.
okay.
I told
Wait
our
just one
corporate
second.
counsel that he's going to be the staff person in charge of setting up any meetings and things like that, working together with the two council people, okay?
That would be fine.
Yep.
Paul, go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chair, I have a question about how long the committee will be established for. Is this an ongoing committee that will go in
No.
perpetuity, or is this a committee that will last, say, a couple of months to do these investigations and make recommendations back? Can you clarify?
Yes, by all means. Thank you, Paul. Yes, this is not an ongoing committee per se. This is an exploratory review of what we have and where we want to go. So I'm hoping that in the next couple of months, we will start getting information back, and perhaps even by our meeting in August, we'll be able to go forward and look at what we want to do from this point forward.
My suggestion would be is after the first meeting, they can figure out how much time they're going to need approximately.
Yes.
And then both Mr. Perry and Mr. Del Santo will report back to the council approximately when they get back to you. I had to put a drop dead time in there because we don't,
Yes.
we didn't have the first meeting.
We don't even know. Paul, did you hear that?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, very good. So that will be our procurement review team, and so that's that. Item 9, new
Madam Chair?
business.
Madam
Oh,
Chair?
excuse me, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to thank you and everyone, and I look forward to working with Councilman Del Santo on doing this and researching and then reporting back to the council. So again, I just want to thank you for putting this together, collaborating so that, we could look into this and then we could report back. So I'm super thrilled and excited because I think this is going to be a great group to work with to then come back to the council with more information.
Exactly. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Mr. Perry. Our tax refunds, have you got them for me, Jack?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I approve our tax refunds that are presented in our packet.
Do I have a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So we will approve all the tax refunds, and I'm looking for an adjournment into executive session barring the press and public, but inviting Attorney Sheffy, the
Town manager, the council, and Attorney Sheffy, that's all we'll need.
Okay, very good.
Madam Chair.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, that's unanimous. I want to thank everybody, and